And what's going on, Los Angeles, LAFB family, Bruin Nation? How we doing? How we doing? Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. The Madman here, as always, ready to break down some Bruin football updates. And man, what a wild weekend it has been in college football, particularly with one individual, one prospect from across the country that has now been linked to UCLA for a variety of reasons. The man I am talking about is Nico Iamaleava, the former now quarterback of the Tennessee Volunteers. What a case study this is in where we are today with college football and the NIL situation and whatnot. Nico Iamaleava, as a true freshman, led the Tennessee Volunteers to a 10-3 record and a college football playoff appearance. He was a former SoCal kid, went to Warren High School in Downey, as well as Long Beach Poly, the famed Long Beach Poly in none other than Long Beach, California, and then made his way out to Josh Heupel's system in Tennessee, and really very successful true freshman campaign, again, leading the Volunteers to double-digit victories and an ultimate showdown with the eventual national champion Ohio State Buckeyes in the shoe. Came on the wrong end of that situation, but a lot of high hopes for Tennessee coming into this year, building upon that playoff appearance moving forward. Why do I say this about Tennessee on a UCLA show? Well, Nico is now going to be in the transfer portal come Wednesday, and so many reports that happened at the end of the week where he apparently held out of practice. He was sort of renegotiating a contract, and then ultimately Tennessee decided to part ways because they didn't think that was necessarily appropriate. The backstory is murky at best, but Nico apparently was offered $2.4 million for this particular season and an $8 million lifetime contract with Tennessee over the course of his time there. And there was rumors and reports that he was looking to renegotiate from his $2.4 million contract to something that was closer to $4 million annually, more in line with some of the quarterbacks that were on the market. One being Quinn Ewers before he decided to go to the NFL draft. The other being Carson Beck, who transferred from Georgia and ultimately to Miami. And then what came out was very bizarre, that Nico's dad, who's very involved with both of his sons, came out and said this was news to him, that it was Nico's agent that perhaps may have overstepped and overplayed his hand in trying to get Nico the greatest possible deal imaginable for his client, and ultimately kind of things backfired without sort of getting the cross-reference from the family, from the Iamaleavas themselves. So a wild saga indeed. But why this is particularly relevant for UCLA is Iamaleava is an incredible quarterback prospect, and going into this 2025 season, is there an opportunity for the Bruins to be able to cash in on this particular prospect and have Nico be the starting quarterback for this 2025 season? Let's not forget his younger brother, Madman Iamaleava, was committed to UCLA all the way up to that December signing day. And the morning of signing day, Madden flipped from UCLA to Arkansas and pulled a couple of recruits with him. So the Iamaleava family has had a long history, not only with Southern California, but also in their consideration of UCLA. And as Nico made his way to the open market, so to speak, a lot of names sort of circled in terms of where possible destinations could be. UCLA was at the very top of that list. USC, the team across town, was at the top of that list. Notre Dame was being mentioned. Oregon was being mentioned, and a few others. And since then, both Notre Dame as well as USC have come out and said that they're not interested in pursuing Nico. Now, how true that is or not remains to be seen, but that's sort of been the initial indications, thereby dialing up even more possible interest and heat with Nico potentially coming to UCLA. And so let's sort of break this down in terms of pros and cons. I think the pros on that particular side of the argument of Nico coming is you bring in a quarterback year two, a decorated high schooler, someone who won 10 games in the SEC his freshman season, went all the way to the college football playoff, and you bring him into a Tino Sunseri offense now. And that system, elite prospect with an elite play caller, and you bring that together, there's potentially a lot of magic there for sure. And no knock on Joey Aguilar, but Joey Aguilar, I think there still remains to be some concerns. Last year, of course, sub 60% completion percentage, 14 interceptions for Appalachian State. We've watched Joey over the course of spring practice. Last weekend, threw a couple of picks on some deep balls, yet to really sort of find his absolute groove and rhythm. And so to say that UCLA is firmly entrenched at the quarterback position, where they have their, no question about it, de facto quarterback in Joey Aguilar, I think is a bit of a stretch. Now, not saying that Joey can't ultimately get there, nor could the folks behind Joey, who myself, Will, and others within the program are particularly excited about, namely one Luke Duncan. But the opportunity to get an elite prospect and marry him, so to speak, with Tino Sunseri and that particular scheme and system would be something that would create tremendous dynamite for UCLA, particularly in a Big Ten conference where it hasn't been very quarterback deep the last couple of years. And if you assess the Big Ten conference right now, you would have to believe that to be the case as well. If you take out Ohio State, you take out Oregon, you take out Penn State, you have the potential now with Iamaleava to potentially have a top four quarterback in the conference. And when you can sort of pair that with the folks that UCLA has on the outside, hopefully a revamped offensive line with all the prospects that they've gotten, and this Deshaun Foster running game, the opportunity for UCLA to score a lot of points would be very significant, something that they need given some of the deficiencies that we're seeing early on that front seven side of the house, where UCLA is going to probably need to, A, either outscore their opponents in conference play, or B, be very opportunistic defensively, as we talked about before. So lots to like about potentially UCLA going after Iamaleava. And also, I think, just the aura around the program. Could this be a big splash transfer portal get for Deshaun Foster going into year two and really building upon that momentum that he has in the offseason, particularly with the great staff that he's been able to build out? So lots to like on the pro side. Now, if we sort of swing it over on the con side, we have to sort of acknowledge the price tag. I mean, if Nico left a situation where he was making $2.4 million a year, obviously he's looking for at least that much and certainly more. What is UCLA's football NIL willingness to pay, number one, but also number two, is this the best use of that money? And, when you look at what else is in that quarterback room with Joey Aguilar, with Luke Duncan, with Demarcus Davis and beyond, is blocking $2.5, $3.5, $4 million for one particular year on one player the most effective way to go after this, assuming there's sort of a willingness to pay for UCLA in the first place? I would think that the willingness to pay would need to be more around several players, particularly on that defensive line and that front seven. Obviously, the Bruins have gotten Isaiah Chisholm. They're excited about some of the younger kids. Nico DeVilliers on the defensive line is someone that we're keeping our eye on as a budding star. But after that, things are a little bit thin. We need Keanu Williams to come through. We need Gary Smith to kind of come back healthy. We need John Vaughns to be able to sort of commit full-time to football. A lot of question marks on that front seven with UCLA. So one would think that you would want to potentially, if that money was available, be able to use that money on multiple players, particularly to build out that defensive front seven. And then furthermore, I think there's some questions about Nico. Is this a one-year rental and then you're looking for sort of your next paycheck over the course of, the next season? Or is this someone that you want to build long-term with? Deshaun Foster has talked about wanting to be here for the long haul. Deshaun Foster has talked about bringing coaches that want to be here for the foreseeable future and really playing that long game of guys that want to develop in the program and then sort of excel year 3 and year 4. Does Nico sort of fit that culturally? I think is the big question, particularly after his brother was so close to signing with UCLA and then at the 11th hour bolted. So there's a lot to like on the talent side. And I don't think there's any question that it would be a significant upgrade over, I think, the ability and the experience of Joey Aguilar at an FBS level, as well as the experience that a Luke Duncan or a Demarcus Davis would have. So there's certainly an elevation at the quarterback position with Nico Iamaleava. But on the flip side, do you have the money to go after him? A. B, is that the best use of the money? And then C, is he really a cultural fit for something long-term? Because the last thing you want is sort of a one-year rental and then having to sort of go through this entire process again from a financial perspective and a resource perspective. So lots to sort of unpack here with Nico. We'll see how this plays out in the days to come. The transfer portal officially opens on Wednesday, and so that's where he's officially going to be. And I think right now it feels like UCLA's in the mix. A lot of conversation about Oregon and potentially, him exploring that option, which would again be ironic considering Oregon is looking at Dante Moore as their starting quarterback this year. Do you bring in Iamaleava to sort of compete for that job? Or is there going to be sort of a dark horse third contender? So lots to unpack here. The timing also very interesting because now that the spring window of practices is coming to a close here, if Nico were to come to UCLA, he misses all of that opportunity for preparation, for reps, for getting aligned with his teammates. Now, there would probably be an opportunity for him to really ramp up that learning curve and have some OTAs and things of that nature. But, it's not the greatest of timing either in this particular situation. But you do have, I think, the opportunity of a significant talent upgrade. So I think a lot's to sort of unpack here. My personal opinion, we'll see how it shakes out. I think UCLA should pass on this opportunity. And if they have the money to spend in this spring transfer portal window, I think they've got to go deep into front seven depth, particularly that defensive line, and getting one additional linebacker and really having a lot of faith in the eye and the strategic insights of Tino Sunseri to say either Joey Aguilar is going to be the starting quarterback or Luke Duncan is going to be Curtis Rourke 2.0 for the Bruins this year with a lot of success. So lots to uncover in the days to come, folks. Wanted to get a quick pod out there to talk about this Nico Iamaleava situation. But what's, I think, very positive is it's one of the rare instances that a national transfer portal prospect has been linked to UCLA. And I think that's only a benefit now moving forward. The more that can take place, the more you feel like Deshaun Foster is starting to elevate this program at not just a regional level, but at a national level. And as they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Having UCLA being thought of in this particular conversation, I think only helps elevate this program moving forward. I've been reached out to by a number of networks on the Big Ten side of the house and in the Midwest that want to kind of discuss this, even folks on the South that want to discuss this. So it's great to see UCLA in the national conversation when it comes to elite college football prospects. So keep it all right here on LAFB. We'll uncover this as the days progress here, but lots to sort of keep an eye on this Nico Iamaleava situation. Hey, we missed out on Madden. Is there an opportunity to get Nico? We'll see. But as always, friends, always great to see you. And as always, fours up forever.